They know you don't speak French just by how you say bonjour. The line culture, yeah. And you make eye contact and you smile and they're like, dude, who's the weird tourist smiling at me? You get drunk on wine when you're here in France at dinner. It is one of those things like, touriste. Ugh. Bonjour, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in Nancy, France. Today what we're going to talk about are the unwritten rules that tourists need to know before they come to France. So some things that no one really ever talks about, but you really should know before you come here. And I want to start with the same thing I started this entire video with, the word bonjour. You always want to greet people wherever you go in France. You go into a shop, you go into a restaurant, you go to somebody's home, you bump into people, you're always saying bonjour, which is good day. That is what you do. It's a sign of respect, and you're going to start on a much better footing in the restaurant, in the shops, in the kiosks than if you don't say bonjour, okay? So make sure you always greet those shopkeepers, greet those people. That's a key thing when you're there. And a little bonus thing, never, ever just start in anglais, in English. At least try with your bonjour. They know you don't speak French just by how you say bonjour, but at least start with that and try to do that first and then ask if they speak English. Remember, parlez-vous anglais? Because honestly, if you're in the tourism industry or there's anybody like under 40, they probably speak some English, okay? So don't sweat about that one, all right? Now, another unwritten rule I think is very important, because food is very important when you're here in France, is the fact that no one is going to shoo you away when you're eating. Look, if you're going to get a restaurant reservation, you're going to go someplace, that reservation, that table is yours for the entire night. They're not trying to get somebody else in there, okay? In a true French restaurant, they understand that we do not eat quickly here. It is not a sprint to eat in France. We take time. We enjoy the food. We enjoy the company. If you order a pre-dinner drink, they'll probably let you finish your entire drink before they bring the appetizer out, and let you have the appetizer and then bring you your wine for your meal. It is a completely other adventure, which a lot of tourists don't really realize that, look, no one's going to hurry you out. The service is not fast, not just because they don't really need your tips, but also because they're letting you enjoy you being with your family, you being with your friends, you enjoying those foods, okay? So be aware of that. Nobody's going to shoo you away when it comes to your food. So take your time and enjoy it. I think another unwritten rule we really need to talk about when it comes to France is the fact that strikes are a way of life, but even if a strike impacts you, you still stand behind the people's right to strike. Because who am I to tell someone that, oh, my vacation's more important than their livelihood, my vacation's more important than their, retirement age, right? These are things that are entrenched in the French culture. It is a strike is a way of life. So if you are impacted by strikes here in France, you still stand behind people's right to strike when you're here. I know for some tourists it gets them very upset, but it's something you should know. But what's cool about strikes here, they usually announce when it's going to be and exactly what lines it's going to be, if it's like subway lines or train lines or plane parts and stuff. So that's a nice part about it. But something you need to realize, they're not going to tell you that. It's just a way of life here. Now, another unwritten rule about coming to France is you're not loud. Yes, that is one of the key things you'll notice if you're flying in on Air France, if you're sitting on the TGV, if you're having dinner, you'll notice nobody's loud. Literally, nobody is loud. In France, it's very much I want to have my conversation with my friends, but I also want you to have your conversation with your friends. And I don't want to know your friend's conversation, just like you don't want to know mine. So we use our inside voices all the time here in France. Even when people are going out in the parks, they're having fun, they're going to bars, you still could hear everybody talk. I'm here with my dad, who is 81 years old, and he literally can sit and have a conversation with us in restaurants, on the train. He can hear. It's amazing because there's not all that extra noise when you're here. So remember, you use that inside voice. There's no loud, I'm having French champagne in Paris kind of craziness. No, they don't do that here, okay? So realize that. Now, the next unwritten rule, this is kind of like a two-parter, is, bureaucracy is a way of life here in France. But also on the other side of that, efficiency isn't really a French thing, okay? I don't know if there is a word for efficiency in France, because I don't know how there could be, because things take a while when you're here. It's not just when you're going out to eat, people. If you have to do any kind of formal document stuff, it is going to take forever. It'll be more steps than you think. And you'll hear the locals kind of complain about it, but they're only kind of half complaining about it because they know, hey, it's just part of life. That's just the way it is. They're reserved to the fact that this is the way it is. And for some tourists, they get very upset with that. But just realize, hey, unwritten rule, bureaucracy part of life, baby. Efficiency, That's for other people. Go talk to our neighbors in Germany for that kind of stuff. Now, one thing I think is also important, an unwritten rule you need to know as a tourist coming here is you need to ask for the bill. Look, service in restaurants, they come and take your order and they bring your food and that's about it. If you want to order more stuff, if you want to get the l'addition, the bill, you need to be the one that asks, like, oh, excuse me, sir, could we pay l'addition, s'il vous plaît? Can I get more vin, wine? Yeah, like, they'll come over because they're not there to bother you. They're there, hey, you're there with your wife, you're there with your lover, you're there with your girlfriend, you're there with your friends, your family. You do you. I'll be over here. If you need me, let me know. And they're okay with that. That's how it is. And so many tourists get upset that they don't have the waiters kissing their behinds all the time. That is not how the food culture is here. That's not how the restaurant culture is here. The etiquette is, you say, hey, sir, can we order some more? Hey, can we get the bill? L'addition, s'il vous plaît. You do that. No one tells you this. That's why you see tourists getting upset. But it is a way of life, so realize that. Now, another thing I think is important to mention is wine. And the thing is here, the unwritten rule about wine in France is you can have wine anytime. It's totally fine. No one judges you for drinking wine. They may judge you on the kind of wine you drink, but they're not going to judge you because you're drinking wine at lunch or you're having wine at dinner. But where they will judge you when it comes to drinking that wine is if you have too much. Because if you get sloshed, you get drunk on wine when you're here in France at dinner, it is one of those things like, touriste. Ugh. Tourist. Like, that's one of those things you need to realize. So you enjoy the wine. You're not chugging it to get drunk. You're using it to enhance the flavor of the food when you're here. Now, another thing I think a lot of tourists need to kind of know, especially those digital nomads out there, the unwritten rule, the cafes here in France are not Starbucks. You don't roll up, get a coffee, open up your laptop and stay for 7 hours. No. You roll up, have your coffee and your cigarette, talk with your friend for a bit, and then you go someplace else to work. The cafes are not like US kind of cafe things where it's all about, you know, like, oh, I got to do my work and use their Wi-Fi kind of stuff. That's not the thing here. Here, the cafes really are for conversation, coffee, cigarettes, things that start with C's, aside from computers, all right? And another C word I think is very important, an unwritten rule you need to know in France. For Americans, when we think of cheese, we think of it as a snack or an addition. But you have to realize here in France, the unwritten rule is cheese is not a snack. Cheese is a course. It's a course you're gonna have. Yes, you can literally have a meal just out of cheese because the cheese here is that good. It's not just a snacky thing. It is a way of life, whether it's a Roquefort, a Brie, whatever. So many good cheeses. Just enjoy them. You'll love them. It's okay. But don't just snack on them. Well, you can snack on them, like go to the Bonjour and get some cheese and baguette. And well, now you know it's your lunch. So it is a course. Now, to the frustration of many British tourists when they come here to France, another unwritten rule about France is that the line culture or the queue culture here isn't probably up to the level of organization you'd like. Like if you're waiting in line to get on a train, if you're waiting in line at the post office or something like that, you'll notice you think there's a line, but there'll be somebody that'll just like wander up into the front. What? Oh, there's a line here? Or like Notre Dame when you're there and you're waiting to get in, people just like walk by. You're like, hey dude, the line's back here. Oh, pardon, I did not know. Like they don't really care about the line so much, but a quick pardon will get them to pay attention and they might not get in front of you, but they can at least get behind you in the line if they're going to cut in line, so be aware of that. But yeah, the line culture, my British friends like to mention that quite often when they talk about their frustrations here, but that's why it's important to have that unwritten rule for you. The line culture, it's not necessarily a culture, it's more of a, I guess you call it je ne sais quoi, and I don't know because they don't know either. Oh, another unwritten rule I think is very important for tourists to know is the unwritten rule that public toilets aren't really a thing here in France. Sometimes you can find them. Most times the public toilets you find, you don't actually want to use. That's why you really need to make sure you plan your potty breaks around your travel that day. The museums you go to, always use the bathroom when you're there. You're going to a cafe or restaurant, make sure you go before you leave. Before you leave your hotel, go hit the potty. I know it sounds like I'm talking to a little kid, but I'll be honest with you, when you're in the Tuileries Gardens and you gotta go and there's nothing around, you're gonna be in trouble, all right? So it is one of those unwritten rules. Realize the public toilets, not really a thing. Now, moving back to the food kind of thing, another unwritten rule we have here in France is you don't manhandle the produce, and you especially don't manhandle a baguette. Look, I know we all watched Ratatouille as kids and we remember, oh, do you know how you know what is a good baguette? It is the sound, the crispiness that she goes and cracks it. Oh, I don't know how many tourists go, look, and they crunch it. You don't do that to a baguette. Okay, you don't manhandle a baguette. Also, you don't manhandle the produce when you're at a fruit market or a fruit stand. Let them get the fruit for you. That's the way it goes. That's the unwritten rule. It doesn't say anyway we do it for you. You just need to know. Another unwritten rule that I think all tourists should know is French people aren't jerks. They're actually really cool. But the unwritten rule is if you're a jerk to them, they're instantly going to be a jerk to you, and they'll all of a sudden forget all of their English, je ne sais pas. So if you're cool to them, you're nice to them, remember that bonjour thing? You do that, that's going to get them more, ingratiated with you. They're going to be more nice to you. They're going to work better with you. You're going to have more fun with them. I mean, I can't tell you how many times till 4 o'clock in the morning with bar owners, exploring Metz and here in Nancy with a friend of mine. Like, oh, hey, my buddy Isabella. He's like, you want to try pigeon? Like, pigeon? Sure, why not? I mean, the people here in France are great. We were in Colmar, random guy, like, hey, what did you think about our city? Talking, meeting people. The French people are fantastic. But the thing is, the unwritten rule is, if you're a jerk to us, we'll be a jerk back. If you're cool to us, we'll be cool back. So remember that when you're here and you're being that mad German, while you're gonna be that mad German to them, you better be ready for them to bring the smoke back at you. Oh, also another unwritten rule, all the locals know you've already visited Paris. So if you're gonna say you visited France, make sure you've gone to other places besides Paris and be ready to talk about them. Like here in Nancy, make sure you can talk about how great the Quiche Lorraine is here. It's so much better than anywhere else in the country. Or Place Stanislas, the beautiful UNESCO World Heritage Site Square here. Be able to talk about those things because French people love to talk about the different regions around the country, the beauty of their country, and not just Paris. So they kind of get offended when you're like, oh, I've seen France. I was in Paris for a weekend. No, you were in Paris for a weekend. It's like, and you went to New York for a weekend. You didn't see the US, you saw New York. It's fantastic. Paris is amazing. But France is so much more. And the locals really appreciate it if you go explore more. Nancy, Rennes, Bordeaux, Rennes, like all over Normandy. Oh, Alsace-Lorraine here, Nancy, Metz, go down to Colmar and Strasbourg, go to Toulouse, Grenoble, Nice, Avignon, love Avignon, Arles, Nice. There's so many great places to go around this country to really fall in love. Look, I'm getting goosebumps talking about all the great places to go. They get that same goosebumpiness talking about their country. And if you're just like, yeah, I saw Paris, not cool. Oh, another unwritten rule, because you might ask yourself, how is it that the food is so fantastic here, but so many people are so skinny? Like, how do they do it? Well, an unwritten rule here in France is they don't snack. Like, literally, they don't snack. Like, you have a little tiny breakfast, you have a nice lunch or a nice dinner, and that's it. You might see little kids going around with like a little baguette or croissant in their hand during the day to like keep them, occupied, but they'll literally have that croissant baguette in their hand for like 2 hours, just gnawing on it little by little. Snacking isn't a big thing here, and that helps them stay thin and stay looking fantastic. So be aware of that. So if you're a snacker, no, this isn't necessarily a snacking country. And then the last unwritten rule about going to France, and this is one thing that I'm sure a number of people here in Nancy and Paris and all the other places I've gone really wanted to tell me because the looks on their face said this to me, and that is, the unwritten rule is you don't smile at strangers. Look, you get so happy being here. You just had like the most magnificent food of your life, and you met these wonderful people, and you're here and you've seen fantastic art and beautiful architecture. It's like, oh, I'm just so happy. I'm like, look, there's a French person. I'm just so happy to see you. And you make eye contact and you smile, and they're like, dude, who's the weird tourist smiling at me? So one of those little unwritten things, you don't randomly smile at people when you are here. Though you can, but just know you might get an odd look or two when you do it. So what are some other unwritten rules about coming to France that you think tourists should know? Let us know in the comments below so we can have other travelers enjoy this beautiful country. Anyway, I wish you all the best. I'll say au revoir from here in Nancy, France.